we're going to keep it here with contract talks before we move into the NBA. Okay, because Zay, you made it a point of emphasis during your last take, on the show, last topic rather, that Jefferson is the cream of the crop in the NFL. He's the number one wide receiver in the NFL. I can agree with that. I coincide that. My name is Lil, and I approve that take. However, there could be an argument that a guy like Ceedee Lamb, okay, may reset the market. Okay, that's if Jerry Jones is, waking up from his hibernation. Okay, my guy is out here living life on his yacht somewhere, forgetting to pay guys. So the question that we have right now is, who should the Cowboys prioritize in regards to off-season extensions? Will that be Dak Prescott, Ceedee Lamb, or Micah Parsons? And Zay, once more, the mic is yours to kick us off.
This is a tough conversation amongst the NFL community to have. Micah Parsons, probably, if not one the most dynamic defensive player in football, and what he does at the Dallas Cowboys at linebacker, and also plays the edge rusher. He does so much for that team. Ceedee Lamb, one of the more dynamic receivers in the league. Something that is his route running, his ability to create separation, just evade coverages, evade man-to-man. It's just, he does it all. Dak Prescott, a guy the last 3 years, has over 12,000 passing yards and I believe 96 touchdowns combined. And I think it's a difficult conversation to have because all three of these guys contribute to at a high magnitude for this team. For me, I'm going with Ceedee Lamb. You have to go and get and lock in that receiver, a generational talent. You call him. This is a guy who his capability on the football field is unmatched to anything the Cowboys have had in quite some time in terms of talent, in terms of what they're capable of doing on the team. I'm even comfortable as saying he is as dynamic as a receiver as Terrell Owens was when he was on Dallas. That's how good Ceedee Lamb is at receiver on this team. He creates separation. He allows that offense to flow because the defense is so worried about what this guy is doing on the football field. You have to put 4 people on him just to stop him from getting a damn catch. That's how great Ceedee Lamb is. And that's something that I think the Cowboys want to lock in and keep for the foreseeable future. Not saying that Micah Parsons and Dak Prescott doesn't contribute to this team or don't do the same damage, but Ceedee Lamb, you have to lock in. These young receivers are going at a fast pace. You don't want to lose out on one. And I think the Cowboys got a real one for their franchise. This guy could be matching Michael Irvin in terms of historical numbers at the end of his career if they lock him in long term. So I think Ceedee Lamb is the guy they have to look in to continue having these offseason extensions talks.
Look, I think for me, Dak Prescott, Ben should have got his money before everybody. Ben, okay? But now that Jerry Jones has made what should have been a quick process, long and drawn out, I'm going to have to be forced to agree with you, but with this caveat. I think, and this might be a hot take, but I'm going to explain everything. I just don't come on the show. I'm not like mainstream that just say a hot take and don't back it up with the facts and the reasonings. But I do believe the Cowboys should pay Ceedee Lamb and trade Dak Prescott before the trade deadline. Okay? And I'm going to explain all those reasons in a minute. Okay? First of all, I think that Jerry Jones has to be more proactive in regards to, understanding how the market works. It's not about what these guys are worth. Now, you can make the argument they are worth, extensions, but it's not about that only. It's about what the wide receiver market is dictating, what the quarterback market is dictating. That's really where the start of negotiations start, based on the market. And Jerry Jones and the agent has to negotiate from there. And I think when you have CD, Dak Prescott, both on the final years of their rookie contracts entering this season, what's going on? Like, I don't understand for the life of me that garbage of the way how Jerry Jones is handling. You got to pay your dues. We human beings, we have dues that we have to pay, and we cannot push it back. As law-abiding citizens, if you're not Wesley Snipes, you pay your taxes, okay? You pay your taxes. Those are your dues, okay? We all have to do it. The more we push it back, the more we got to pay, my brother, okay? And Jerry Jones needs to know this when it comes to building the team. Okay, you got to pay your guys. How else you going to compete? They ain't going to pay for free. You think that Prescott is going to want to take a pay cut? Now, he may say all the right things. Oh, I want to be a Cowboy for life. Everybody says that. Okay, but he's going to want his money. Okay, Dak is going to want his pockets to be fat. And believe that. Same thing with Ceedee. We know wide receivers are divas in the NFL. They will leave your team in a heartbeat. The opportunity they can't leave so they can get money. They don't care if they losing every single game and they own 17. They don't care. They want to get paid. My guy Jefferson just got paid. I want that. We as men, we see that car, that Tesla truck. Oh, I want that. Yeah, I want to be next. I want to be a millionaire. If Jay-Z can do it, I could do it. Okay? Now, let me get back to football. I'm going real philosophical here. Okay? Let me come back. Because I think when you talk about Jerry Jones not learning his lesson from before, lessons are meant to be blessings. I'm going philosophical mode again. Okay? Lessons are meant to be blessings. It teaches you how to fix your mistakes. Okay? Guys, I got a lot going on in my life. I'm preaching to myself, actually. Believe it or not. Not only preaching to y'all, I'm preaching to myself. I got to remember these things. Blessings or lessons. And I think when you talk about Dak Prescott a couple years ago with the first contract situation, the Cowboys could have said, well, they lost $10 million by waiting. Okay? By waiting to pay him his money. Okay? They got him more expensive than they could have. Okay? And then now you look at this situation and they had an opportunity to give him a second contract for, at least $50 million. But instead, they're allowing every given day, every given hour, every given minute, the quarterback market to rise, which makes negotiations harder, which makes, Dak Prescott literally being overpaid. Now we getting into the era, or the moment where Dak Prescott is overpaid now by virtue of the quarterback market. Now he's too expensive because I think Dak Prescott is a fringe top 10 quarterback. Right? I think fringe top 10 quarterback. He played like an MVP last year. He played like a top 5 quarterback last year. I'll give him that. But when you talk about playoffs, I think he's a fringe top 10 quarterback. So now you're going to eventually, I would assume, right, pay Dak Prescott. He's going to be overpaid. But the results are always going to be underachieving come January. That doesn't make sense to me. And this is why, now that they waited, because, they should have took care of Dak Prescott before they take care of anybody else. Now, because guess what? By virtue of the position, quarterbacks are going to make more than wide receivers.
Yep.
Okay? Quarterbacks are going to make more than defensive players. Yep. Okay? Just by the value of the position alone. So now I think they pay Ceedee Lamb. They should pay Ceedee Lamb. And I think they should trade Dak Prescott, because if they don't, these are the two options that the Cowboys have. Option number one, let him walk after the season is over, making this year Super Bowl or bust. Or number two, make him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. He's not the best player in the NFL. So now those two results, or pick your poison, they're bad results to live with. So that's why I think they should pay CD and trade Dak Prescott as soon as possible.
I think it's funny that we talk about Dak Prescott, and this might be a hot take. It might not be, depending on who you are, if you've been watching football the last couple of years. But the last 3 seasons, there's not 5 quarterbacks who have done what Dak Prescott has done in terms of 12,000 passing yards, 96 on passing touchdowns. You can make the argument the last 3 years he's a top 5 quarterback, not because of his dynamicism. He's not Lamar Jackson, he's not Jalen Hurts or whatever, but his ability to throw the football is unlike anyone else in the league. He's been that dynamic of a football player these last 3 seasons. And I think that's something that needs to be paid attention to. And that's why he needs to get paid, because he's 30 years old. It's not like he's 37, 38 and he's dropping off the cliff. He's 30 years old. He's at his peak right now, his prime. So, like, if you're paying him because you're paying him throughout his prime. He's going to continue throwing football extremely well. The Cowboys' issues, outside of, that playoff record is not good. 2-5 in 7 games in the playoffs. That's not a good number, but he's 14 touchdowns, 7 interceptions in the playoffs. And a lot of the times that they have lost in the playoffs is due to the play calling that Dallas decides to utilize during these games. Now, can Dak Prescott be better? Of course he can. I believe he 100% can be better, but you can only do as much as you can due to play calling. Now, I'm not saying pay Dak Prescott over Ceedee and Micah Parsons. That's not what I'm saying, because this is a difficult conversation. Like you said, Jerry Jones waited so long to pay Dak Prescott. Now you're forced between two explosive players on either side of football and Dak Prescott, and you have to figure out which position is worth more to you as Jerry Jones, the owner, Jerry Jones, the GM, Jerry Jones, the dictator, because that's exactly who he is. He does all of these things, and he pushes his team against the wall to make bad decisions when they could have had this fixed a long time ago. Dak Prescott, you don't want him walking, because he could go to a rival. He could go to the damn Giants, who are looking for a quarterback, and he could dot you up, and that would be a bad look on the Dallas Cowboys. You don't want that to happen. You don't want him to go somewhere else in the NFC. You don't want him going anywhere else in the NFL. Imagine if the 49ers say, we'll let Brock Purdy walk, we'll take in Dak Prescott and let him throw all them damn touchdowns over there in San Fran. You don't want that happening over there. There's a lot of things that can happen that the Dallas Cowboys need to be careful of, because you have these players, you want to lock them down. They're extremely talented, but you're in a position where you might lose one of them. So you have to pick which one you'd rather lose. Who's going to hurt the least? Because all these, if any one of these players decide, if they choose to trade, or do they decide to let any one of these players walk from this organization, it's going to hurt them severely. Either one of these losses is going to hurt severely, because everyone could joke about Dak Prescott. We could talk about, oh, this guy can't read the field. This guy can't do this and that. This guy has been arguably a top 5 quarterback in the league the last 3 seasons, and you have to pay him his respect and his due diligence.
I mean, look, I hear the "I have a dream" speech, Zay. I hear it. Okay. Now, I mean, I get it. You a Dak Prescott politicker. I get it. Okay.
I'm just going talking the numbers. I'm talking the numbers.
I mean, but when you look at the eyes in the playoffs, this guy's a no-show. Mm-hmm. Okay, we just got to call a spade a spade. Mm-hmm. Okay, those interceptions that he threw against the Packers, that iced the game. The game was over in the first quarter. Okay, when you talk about last year, the year before last year, I'm talking about, right? Because I get caught up in the terminologies and in the dates and all that. But 2 seasons ago in the playoffs, he didn't come through in the fourth quarter against the 49ers. They gave the Cowboys, the defense gave the Cowboys every opportunity for the offense to get it together. They couldn't, because he threw interceptions, sealed balls, didn't play like a playoff performer. However, where I would agree with you is that quarterbacks generally don't get paid based off playoff success. Because if that was the case, Lamar Jackson would have got paid. Ooh, shots fired. Not Lamar, you're my guy. Okay. Respectfully, you're my guy. I just got to call a spade a spade. Can I do that, please? Okay. Can I be the real Lil on this show, Mr. Lamar Jackson, even though you're my guy? Okay. Now, yes. So you don't get paid based off playoff performances. You get paid based off regular season accolades and numbers and all that. And that's how the quarterback market really works. It's not about playoffs. Kirk Cousins would have got that $84 million guaranteed contract that he got in his first contract if it was about playoffs. Okay, it's not about playoffs. Baker Mayfield, it's not about playoffs. He got paid. It's not about playoffs. Josh Allen, it's not about playoffs. He got paid. Okay, yeah. So I think for me, Dak Prescott is going to get paid elite money, whether it's here or elsewhere. Yep. Now the problem is, I don't think, and I agree 100% with you. You made a very good point. You don't want this guy to walk in free agency, okay, and go to the Giants to play with Malik Neighbors. Okay, no, it shouldn't happen like that. You don't want him to do that, right? Because all they missing is a quarterback, really. You don't want that to happen, because you got to play this guy 2 times a year, potentially 3 if y'all make the playoffs. Okay, you don't want that. So I agree with you there, and that's why I think they should have paid him first. But now, as the quarterback market is going up, if Jerry Jones continues to wait and play this back and forth game, because he has no leverage. He doesn't have the leverage here. Dak has the leverage. Okay. Now you can make the argument that Trey Lance, okay, and I'm gonna bring in Trey Lance in this conversation, is the little leverage that Jerry Jones have, and I think he's using it as big leverage. Like, I just signed Trey Lance, Okay. Really, I got him on my roster. He had a full year to learn, the playbook of Mike McCarthy. So I think there may be a succession plan that he has in place right now. And in those regards, that's why I would trade Dak Prescott before the deadline, because I'm not going to allow a top 10 quarterback to walk in free agency and lose him for nothing. And guess what? He has a no trade clause. So if you allow this to continue to play out, he's playing on an expiring deal. We are going to have another Derek Carr situation on our hands where Derek Carr did not accept the trade package because he knew he was going to be a free agent and walk where he wanted to go. So he was like, all right, Raiders, you bench me, take it in your you know what. I'm going to sign him. I'm not going to accept the trade clause. I'm going to be petty because guess what? You're going to cut me anyway. Yep. So I'm going to make sure you get nothing. Bad man right there. Go ahead, Derek Carr. Okay. Dak Prescott can do the same thing.
You know, I want to say real quick because I want to actually be and talk about this enough. Micah Parsons. This is dynamic. This guy's one of the most dynamic players in football. Let alone just defense, football alone. This guy creates havoc on defense.
Yes, he does.
Creates havoc on the offensive line.
And he disappears in the big games.
And that's well. Big. Add
that to the conversation as well.
A huge component. That was exactly what I wanted to go to. The playoff games. Where is he at? Right? Why is he being stopped? Why is he being halted? The schemes. And, you know, someone told me the other day that edge rushers can't really be impactful if the offensive schemes away from them. So if he's being schemed away from, how could you say he deserves this contract extension? If you know how dynamic he is in a regular season, we see his numbers, we see what he's able to do, but it doesn't translate to the playoffs because offense are scheming away from him and still able to thrive and do other things. How can we justify Micah Parsons getting so much money? Because of how dynamic he is. He changes that defense completely. It's nothing, but I personally believe that defense is not anywhere near as good or even good at all without Micah Parsons. If Micah Parsons is not on that football field, that Cowboys defense is, I can't even tell you what it is. I can't even know, I don't even know what their identity is without Micah Parsons. And I think that's a big issue because Jerry Jones, if you're Jerry Jones, you're saying, yeah, we love Micah. We love what he does for 18, 17 games in a regular season, but the playoffs, I can't really tell you who he is. I can tell you where he is on a football field. That has to play a factor in, do you pay him or not? Because defenses, unfortunately, they get paid on not only regular season performances, but also what the hell they do in the playoff when the big lights happen. So it's going to be interesting what happens there.
I mean, look, go tell it on the podcast over the hills and everywhere. Okay, go tell it on the podcast. I mean, all these athletes got podcasts now, you know, and I think, you know, it's a different time we are living in right now. Yep. Let me, before I answer your question, salute to my guy, Dujane. The defense is already not as good as last year. I do agree with that. But if they don't have 11, it gets really ugly. Yeah.
Ugly.
Yeah. I mean, look, man, I think for me, Micah Parsons is a transcendent player. Yep. You know, the ability for him to play multiple positions on defense, yep. You know, to stop the run, to sack the quarterback, to, you know, play in coverage a little bit. You know, I think that's a guy that can make those game-changing plays that you want at the ends of games, you know, and I think at the end of games. And I think in the playoffs, he does have a knack for not making those plays on a consistent basis. But I do think we also have to attribute that to the game being over in some ways. I mean, look at last year, the game was over. I mean, it's nothing, you know, Micah Parsons could have done really to change the outcome of that game. You know, Jordan Love was getting the ball out of his hands quickly, the scheme, everything. They really schemed out Micah Parsons for making an impact on that game. So I think you have to take those things in consideration. However, you know, I think Micah Parsons will be the first one to tell you this, and I think he has said that on his podcast. Go tell it on the podcast. Ceedee Lamb need to be the first one to get paid. Okay, that's what he said. Ceedee Lamb should be the first one to get paid. You know what I'm saying? He'd tell you, you know, because of the value of the position. You know, Ceedee Lamb is more valuable as far as the positional value. Dak Prescott is more valuable as far as the positional value. So they are going to get taken care of first. I do think eventually 2 out of these 3 guys are going to get paid. I'm not sure I see a world where all 3 of them get paid because of Jerry Jones stalling this process that really should have been sped up a long time ago.
Hey, listen, if you're watching, please like and subscribe to the channel first and foremost, but also, who should the Cowboys prioritize? Dak Prescott, Ceedee Lamb, or Micah Parsons in extension talks?
Dish out the checkbook, Jerry.
You know, and it's crazy. I think, you know, I wanted to ask you one quick question before we go to the next topic, before we go to halftime. In your opinion, how close is the gap between the impact of Ceedee Lamb versus Dak Prescott? Is it way far? Is Ceedee Lamb so far ahead of Dak, or is it closer than what we think?
I mean, if you're just looking at the talent alone, that's a pretty good question. I think Ceedee Lamb is the best player on this team, if you ask me. Just the things that he can do. I think he's the top 5 wide receiver in the league, no question about it. You look at games like the Lions game in the regular season where he had 200 plus yards, his ability to create separation, great body control, good route, good route runner, little things like that. I think it's hard to find talent like that. Not every wide receiver is created equally. I think he's the best player on this team. However, all that would mean nothing without a quarterback, without having that guy that can take over a game and win you a game. All those things would not mean nothing. Dak Prescott had success before Ceedee Lamb, and he's continued to have success with Ceedee Lamb. So I think if you're Jerry Jones, you need to have Ceedee Lamb there. And if you do move on from Dak Prescott and you go to Trey Lance route, and that's the guy that you are going to rock with, that's your insurance, then you need to make sure Ceedee Lamb is there, because you need the best Trey Lance that you can get, and Ceedee Lamb will enhance quarterback development. So that's my thoughts.
I think, last point, I think the disrespect that Dak Prescott gets from the national media is going to push him away from Dallas. And I think he winds up going to one of these 3 teams: Raiders, Giants, Vikings. I think those are one of those 3 teams will take a shot at him because of how impressive he's played these last 3 years in terms of throwing the football. And you put him with teams that have playmakers on that team. Well, not more so the Giants, but Raiders or Vikings. They will want a quarterback like Dak Prescott who's not afraid to let the ball fly.
All right, man. We are going to go to halftime here. Good conversations. We are going to go to halftime, and when we come back, Factor Cap is back. You don't want to miss that. Keep it locked.
Please like and subscribe for all the up-to-date content. You've been slinging shows left and right, slinging content left and right. Please don't miss anything. If you do, like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a question, something you may want to answer, something you may have. All ideas are great ideas. Nothing's a dumb question.